Hi, good afternoon. Okay, let's have a review first before we continue with the discussion. I think we stop with historical method, but before I will go there, I was able to share to you the very, not very, but the rough outline of our of what we should be talking about in terms of this subject. Secondly, I was able to share to you as well the important facts, no, about the history of the Filipino people. I hope you were able to really good a good grasp, because I want you to have a very good foundation when we talk about readings in Philippine history. So, but anyway, let's proceed with the what they call this, our discussion. Okay, so we started with what is history, okay? And we said that we're not going to go through that. We took this one, kasaysayan. So we have ka, sanaysay, saysay, and salaysay. So when we put this one together, basically we're talking about kasaysayan ay mga sanaysay na may saysay na isinasalaysay. Simply means that history are stories, valuable stories that is meant to be shared. Okay? And from here, now when we have to go back to this one. Primarily, this is the reason why I share this one first. Because when we say history, it's not something that we see in the future. It is something that had been already written. It already happened. Okay. Um, but whatever happened in the past, it is a lesson, a story that have a lesson, a valuable lesson that we need to learn. Because what we need to really think that whatever happened in history is what makes the present, okay? And what we're going to do today will be will be history in the future and will also make the future. Okay, hopefully that's you really get the point when we talk about history. So it's not just about the past. So saying past is past, okay? I don't think so that it's relevant in a sense, because past is past, yes, but did we learn from it? That's why I kept on asking, did we learn from our collective story? Did we learn from our story? We're not referring to the story of one person, but we're referring to our collective story. Okay. So anyway, um Renato Constantino, if you can remember, his the one of the historians that I mentioned, from Antonio Morga to Mr. Craig, and then to what they call this, there's this one more author before we go to what they call this, Teodoro Alonso, and then of course Renato Constantino. So, but from here, it's very clear that when we talk about history, it is something that it's a story of a group of people who are looking forward to make a better future. Okay. So it's not just a story of one person. It's a story of a group of people. And well, by a group of people, we say the Filipino people, by the way. Okay. So in order to create a story, we have this kind of historical method. So it's a process of critically examining and analyzing the records and survivals of the past. Critically examining, analyzing. So it's not just looking at it, but it's looking at it objectively. Okay. It's looking at it objectively so that we can recreate the stories of the past from available records, from available documents. Okay. Lucky if we already have a written story, but most of the history of the Filipino people were not written. So somehow we can say that there's really a problem of reconstructing our story from available data, from available records, from relics, from artifacts. Okay? This is what we call historiography. Okay? And when we do write about our story, there are agreed rules. No, although we can say it's subjective because it is how we look at it, but no, it is still objective. It follows a specific procedure, a specific guideline, so that when a person writes something about the Filipino people, our story rather, it does not have any touch of biases, right? It must be based on accounts. There are accountable sources. There are base accounts on source materials. There is really a source, there is what we call, um, in layman's terms, we call may pinanggalingan. Okay. Locate and organize the relevant sources. It's a tedious process. Okay. It's not a piece of cake. It's not as easy as a piece of cake. No, no, not like that. It's a tedious process because we need to ensure that what we say is in fact backed by a source material. And on the other hand, we need to verify sources. When we talk about a specific story, we need to be sure that we can determine a place of origin. We can uh we can look into it wherein it has a function and there is a specific date to it. There's an attached date to it. Okay. How are we going to do it further? First and foremost, we need to select a subject. So there is what we call selection of a subject. History is a broad topic. Okay. How are we going to select a specific subject? From there, we need to dichotomize it. That's why historians don't work alone. But when they recreate the story, when they reconstruct a story, they work alone. Yes. But when in the process of putting pieces together, they need a companion. A companion can help them specify a specific subject that they wanted to focus into. Example, Ambeth Ocampo is very fond of Jose Rizal, and most of his stories of history that he's writing are about Jose Rizal. Contrary to Xiao Chua they are modern historians. Xiao Chua is more of what they call this, in a general perspective, but he's more on prehistorical Filipinos. That is his what they call this, that is his specialization, right? Collection of sources. Now we have a specific topic. We collect sources. Where do we collect sources? When we collect sources, it's not easy as picking shells in the seashore. Not like that. Okay. When we pick, actually, when we pick shells in the seashore, we're not sure that all of the shells that we're picking are relevant, are significant. Most of the time, we have to set it aside from something else, for something else rather. Okay, so that's one collection. Examination of genuineness, we look into it as if it is really real, if it's relevant, if it is important. Okay, and extraction from sources. Now we have the sources already. How are we going to get it out? Right? Example, you are nurses. When you extract blood, you need a specific syringe for that. For a specific laboratory, you need as well a specific amount of blood. It's the same as when you extract stories from the sources. You need to have a what do you call this? An exact an exact amount, an exact story. You need the proper documentations. You need to ask the proper questions. You need to have the proper labels so that you will not have a problem later on in the reconstruction. Okay? Now, what are historical sources? There are two: tangible remains, written and or not written. Tangible remains, we're talking about relics, buildings. These are perceived by our five senses. So it can be taste, could be you can smell it, we can hear it, we can touch it, no? We can see it, can be perceived by our by the five senses. It's not written. That's correct. Okay, it's not written. But when we talk about written or not written, written, there is a count already, whether it's bound, it's published, it's kept, it's an archive, as long as it's in a form of a document. Not written, we're referring to oral history, like the epics of Panay, the 13 epics of Panay. It's being transmitted from one generation to the next, not written but verbally. Okay, so we have people who memorize their history and share it with another person, younger person, and that person, of the responsibility of both is to for the latter is to ensure that the recipient will get it properly, and then the recipient will have to parrot it, because he has to repeat it as it is so that he can remember it. And his responsibility is to ensure also the transfer of that history to another generation. That's what we mean by oral history. Then we have, when we talk about written, we have published materials like books, magazines, journals, travelogues, transcriptions of speeches. And then we also have manuscripts, archival materials, we have memoirs, we have diaries. Okay. Manuscripts, they are written, all right? But most of the time they do not get published. Okay. And then we have for oral history, we have artifacts, we have ruins, fossils, artworks, video recordings, and audio recordings. Sources are divided into two: primary and secondary sources. Primary sources, they are the origins. They are the original source. Okay. Secondary sources are reproductions from the primary sources. In order to, your book, for instance, is considered as a secondary source because it's a reproduction of the primary sources. Although you can say, well, that there are documents here. These are reproductions from the original documents. We cannot say that it's the original document. We cannot say it's a primary source because it's just a reproduction. So it's a secondary source. If we go back, right, this one is considered a secondary source: books, magazines, journals, travelogues, and transcriptions of speeches. Why transcriptions are not considered primary source? Well, it can be considered, speeches rather, can be considered a primary source if and only if it's video recorded or audio recorded. You can hear the person talking about the speech. Transcriptions, it's already been transcribed. It is already been written from the video or the audio recordings. So somehow we can already say that it's already the reproduction of the speech itself. So it's called a secondary source. This one, is a primary source, and this is also called a primary source. Okay? So that's primary sources and secondary sources. Now, we also have this one, historical criticism. In historical criticism, we look into authenticity and credibility. When we say authenticity, we're referring to problem of authenticity or external criticism. And when we say credibility, we're talking about problem of credibility or internal criticism. We can look at this when we say authenticity, how it is being perceived by people, how does people look at it, okay? How it is being presented. Credibility, on the other hand, is the document itself. Okay, how does it look? The content of it. Okay, and in order to further, what they call this, examine it, we need to look into the date of the document, determine the date of the document. It's really very important. Determine the author, who is the author, use anachronistic style. What are the idioms and punctuations used? Use also anachronistic reference. Is it too early, too late, or too remote? We have one document in the library there, here in our library. I was really surprised when I found out about it. Um, it's the document of the retraction of Jose Rizal. No. Uh, However, the problem with this document, it was discovered 20 years, more than 20 years, I think, after Jose Rizal was killed. And so it's too late. Yeah. And it was not discovered here in the Philippines. It was discovered in Spain. So it's too remote. But we have to go back. No, we have to go back a little. Who brought the document there? So we have to put the document during Rizal's time. The document, although it doesn't have a timestamp, but according to records, when it was what do you call this, scrutinized, the document placed it during the time of Rizal's death. Who were there when Jose Rizal, that dawn, when Jose Rizal, few hours before Jose Rizal will be killed in Bagumbayan, there's one journalist, who was there. So, and when they were able to trace back the origin of the document, that journalist was holding the document. He was the first owner of the document. So that he brought it to Spain. That's why the document was found in Spain. So it was too remote and it was too late, actually. Okay? So, and then identify the provenance or the custody of the document, who were holding the document. The document was bought from an auction, and it was auctioned and was bought from that auction, and somebody in the Philippines bought it from the auction as well. Okay, determine the semantics used, the meaning of the text that is used, and the hermeneutics, the ambiguities of the text that is being used. Okay, and furthermore, finally, two things: content and context. Let's start with content. What is the topic? What is the object of the interest there? What is being discussed? Okay. The inclusion, the coverage, the amount, and the proportion of the discussion of the topic discussed. That's the content. And of course, what is the meaning? What is the idea being conveyed? Um, what does it tells us? No, when we go back to that document, there's only one thing that they wanted to say. This is the retraction of Jose Rizal. Does the document talks about the retraction of Jose Rizal? Yes, of course. Talks about he is retracting, which means to say he is recollecting, he is collecting back whatever he had said. Okay? And context. When we say context, that's the general idea. What are the circumstances or the facts surrounding in that particular event? And then finally, what is the background relevant to that event? Now we have to go back. For example, the document that we are holding, the retraction of Jose Rizal. what's the context behind what happened during that time? Um, Jose Rizal, accordingly, Jose Rizal, we need to understand it. We need to understand it from the point of view during that time. Every person who's facing the death row, there is a need for a there is a need for the person to do penance and confession. And to do penance and confession is only possible if there is a need for a person to renounce uh, whatever he had done, so that he can get uh the proper sacrament. In Jose Rizal's case, he need to retract in order to be given the chance to confess and receive the communion. Now, it's not just about saying sorry for what he had done. It's not about that. That's beyond that, actually. What's important during those times is to save the soul of Jose Rizal. And to save the soul of Jose Rizal is for him to retract, to recollect whatever he had said, to get back whatever he had said, to receive the sacrament of confession and communion. So ganun po siya kabigat, no? Kabigat. That's why they said that he retracted, etc. But then we will have the chance to look into the document later. So I think that's enough for the introduction of history, and then we will go back to next meeting. We will look into your assignment, by the way, is to read the account of Antonio Pigafetta, because that will be our discussion next week. Okay, thank you so much. That's all.